Okay, this is Noise Cannon with Laura Jane Grace of Against Me.
Hi.
So, let's get straight into it. You released your sixth album in January, Transgender Dysphoria Blues, and amazing reception, and probably the most brutally honest album I've ever heard in my life. I read somewhere that it started out more subtle, so what made you sort of decide to lay it all out on the table?
It didn't really. I mean, maybe it started out more that I was just a little uncomfortable with how personal it was. So I maybe tried to deflect that a little bit and tried to write under the guise of characters, but I dropped that fairly quickly.
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like in your albums there's a very distinct evolution in your sound, and it's never stagnant, it never stays the same, it's always moving. So where do you think that the album sits in that row?
I mean, I think every album is kind of a culmination of experience, like our first album we made was recorded and mixed in a day, and the first time you go into a studio, it's very intimidating. You don't know how all the things work, what knobs do what or whatever, so you don't really know how to achieve the sound that you hear in your head. And our second record was recorded and mixed in like a week and a half. Third record was a month. Fourth record was like 3 months, and so on and so on. So each time we've gone in the studio, gotten a little more comfortable, and there's been lineup changes and stuff like that are definitely reflected on the albums. And I don't know, a little bit too. A little bit of it is just growing up too. Like when I first started this band, I hadn't even finished going through puberty. So there's just changes that happen along the way.
Well, you just worked with AOL. Mm-hmm. AOL, yeah, to do Make True Trans, which is beautiful documentary, looks amazing, is absolutely brilliant. How crucial was that to you to make?
Well, to be honest, I had never heard of AOL Originals before they approached me. And they came to me kind of like, hey, this is what we do. These are the shows we had last year, and these are the series that we're trying to do this year, and we'd like for you to do something. And what that is can be really open-ended and up to you. So I just told them I wanted to have conversations with people who I either had met through social media, admired from afar, or whatever, and have a conversation about gender. So the band being on tour was kind of the backdrop, just because that's what we were doing, But it was an incredible experience all around.
So the cover of Transgender Dysphoria Blues is pretty great, and I read somewhere that Chris Norris, who made it, was trying to push for the dismembered woman that was inside of the sleeve notes. What made you really go for, is it Mistake?
Mistake, yeah. MRS, steak. Well, the way Chris and I have always worked, or stake mounted, Chris, is that, he'll usually, when we're working on a project, kind of throw a bunch of things at me that he's been working on or whatever, and kind of as a start, and then we'll kind of, bounce ideas off of and come up with some. So he had done it's a real doll, actually, in the artwork. It's a dismembered real doll. And he had come up with that initially, and we were really into it. And then the record kind of hit a lot of speed bumps along the way, and I kind of wanted something different, kind of something fresh. And the artwork that's now the cover was a painting that I had bought off him and had been hanging in the studio the whole time that we were working on it. So when it came down to it, I was like, you know what? I'd like to go with that, because it had been there with us the whole time.
Yeah. So you worked on the visuals for New Wave. How important are visuals to you, as a band?
Really, I think that the visual aesthetic with a band, when it's really cohesive with other bands, has always been something that I've admired and something that I pay a lot of attention to. I collect vinyl. I like for the packaging to mean something too. Yeah.
And what made you hand the reins back over to Stake Mountain or Chris?
It's, oftentimes it's like just an issue of time, so often I don't have enough time to do everything I'd like to do, but if it were up to me, I would do every single little thing, So Chris that's what he does, and he's much better at graphic design than I am, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I do love the cover for New Wave.
Thank you.
Mean, personally, that's my favourite one.
Thank you. I like it.
So 2014 has been a huge year for the band, a huge year for you personally. What lessons have you learned that you're going to take into 2015 with you?
I guess the biggest lesson that I've learned this year is just about friendship and what that really means, and when people have your back and when people don't have your back, and it's hard to put that really into words, but at the same time, that's kind of the biggest lesson that I've learned from this year, what I've taken away from this year.
Definitely. So, you're halfway through your tour now. What do you think of the UK? You've been in a band for a very long time. I'm sure you've been here millions of times, too many to count. So how does the UK compare to other places that you play?
I really enjoy touring here. I mean, it's easy touring in the sense that there's no language barrier, obviously, and you know, I like the culture over here. I mean, I like the music scene over here. The shows are always great, and it's good touring.
Are there any British bands that you really love?
Well, I mean, you know, the original like UK peace punk scene of bands, like late 70s, early 80s, like bands like Crass and The Mob, Boys and Girls, stuff like that, were the bands that influenced me politically and musically when I was younger, that still, you know, bear a mark to this day. And then even some of like the later bands, like Scum of Toy Town was one of my favorite bands, Thatcher on Acid, and then I love Hard Skin too.
Sweet. So Christmas is approaching. What is your favorite holiday? Are you a Grinch, or do you love Halloween?
I love Halloween, but also my daughter's birthday is the day before Halloween, so that makes it for like kind of extra special, you know.
So did you dress up this year?
I did. Yes. I just painted my face like a skeleton. So.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
So if you were in a slasher film, the whole band, which one would die first and which one would make it to the sequel? I think you're pretty tight all together, so.
Well, that's tough because it's usually the person you least expect that would be the one to make it. So excuse me. I think that Inge would probably be the one who lives, and that the rest of us would all die. I'd probably be the first to go. I'm hoping it's in some sex scene too. So.
Yeah. What are your favorite horror films?
I mean, the Friday the 13th movies are classic, and the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are probably up there, you know?
Yeah, classics.
Mm-hmm.
So, dream band. You have to pick a member, someone who, dead or alive, can play each instrument. You can be in the band if you want, or you can replace yourself. You can write the songs if you want for the band.
I just want to be the bass player in the Clash.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the Clash would headline your dream festival, and you're going to kick Paul out and join. He can be like...
He can roadie, he can tech, he can be my bass
part
tech.
of it.
Yeah,
So thank you so much, Laura. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Yeah. And Portsmouth tonight, so that's going to be amazing. Thank you so much. This is Noise Cannon with Laura Jane Grace.